Here in April of 2025, the Phoenix real estate market is in a buyer's market, and sellers are struggling with that. And they're struggling to understand how best to approach that because we haven't seen a buyer's market in probably almost 10 years here in Phoenix. And so there's three major things we're going to talk about today that sellers need to understand when you're looking to sell your home in a buyer's market. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Real Talk Real Estate. I'm your host, Mark Cannon, local realtor here in the Phoenix area with my home group real estate and owner of the Benchmark Real Estate team. So today we're talking about buyer's market and how sellers need to adjust, because the biggest thing I'm running into when I have my listings right now is a lot of sellers just are not understanding a buyer's market. And I get it because we haven't seen a buyer's market. I was looking at the data in Cromford. I think I'll put the chart up, but I'm pretty sure it was like 2014, 2015 was last time we had this type of inventory. And we may not have actually been in a true buyer's market at that point, but I think probably around 2014, we were starting to get into more of a balanced seller's market. So it was probably since about 2014 since we've seen anything like this. So people have gotten used to, over the past 10, 11 years, they've gotten used to balanced and sellers markets. And so they're like, man, I haven't had to give up anything. And so we're running into major problems right now with sellers. And there's not understanding, days on market's getting longer, people are overvaluing their properties, and you can't, and the number one rule in buyer's market, do not overvaluate your property. Doesn't matter what you think it's worth. It really matters what the market thinks it's worth. So like when I look at comps right now for like listings, I'll say, hey, listen, here's the comps. If you want to sell this house and not be on the market for 3 or 4 months, here's what you need to price it at. And most people don't listen because they want to make more money. So, it's one of those, we're going to go over 3 things today for sellers that they need to kind of think through and understand in a buyer's market what you need to expect. So first things first, number 1 is asking price is a starting point. It is very rare right now that we're seeing people getting asking price. As far as like no one's asking for anything else, they're going to give you everything you want. It's very rare that you're finding. Now, I've seen some homes that like, if they priced it aggressively, where like, let's say a home is worth $600,000 and they priced it at $550 and it's an immaculate home. Yeah, that home might sell pretty quickly. Okay. I'm not talking about those homes. I'm talking about normal everyday homes. When you put your house on the market, let's say you list your house for $450,000. Don't expect that someone's going to be paying $450 or above $450. Those days are just over. Now, some people will see, well, I see asking prices staying about the same because people are asking for concessions, which what a concession is they want to pay off their closing costs or buy down the interest rate, and the seller provides money for that. It's usually a percentage of the purchase price. Like right now, I'm seeing anywhere from like 2 to 4% concessions. So depend on asking price and different things like that. But it's one of those that asking price is a starting point. Do not think that you're just going to get that number when you put it out there. It's a starting point. And that's how it's been over history. We just got used to the past probably 5 to 8 years where that starting point, yeah, we should get right near that. That's not normal. We were in an abnormal market. Now you have to understand that you are going to be negotiating. So the number 2 thing you need to realize is buyers have all the leverage. Now, if you have an immaculate home, you will have more leverage, right? So again, I'm not talking about those situations where you've renovated this home in the past 5 years. It's gorgeous. It's great. Those homes sell because people want those. They want turnkey. But buyers have leverage because and their biggest leverage is there's so many options. So supply and demand, right? There's not a lot of demand right now, but there's a good amount of supply, and supply is rising, so which means prices are going to come down. So we always talk about the curve, right? And I'm going to show this chart up here. When you're selling your home, you got to get ahead of the curve. So what a lot of people want to do is they want to list as high as they can. What's the highest you think I can list this house for? That is a bad idea in a buyer's market because then you're chasing the market. And when you're chasing the market, you're not catching up. So like, for instance, let's say your home is worth $500,000. You're like, I want to list for $550. Like a lot of those listings now, I won't take them because I'll be the first person fired because you'll say it's my fault when I told you, no, like this is what you should list at. There's a reason we are experts in our field. Those of us that study all the data and look at everything, there's a reason we know what we're talking about because we know what's happening. We're trying to make you as much money as possible. So when you chase the market, because the buyers have all the leverage, you're losing value when your house sits over time because people start thinking, what's wrong with that house when you're sitting for 100 days, 180 days? What's wrong with that house? It's about perception. It's about so many different things. Like I have a listing right now that it's been on the market a long time and there's nothing wrong with the house. It's a nice house. But it was overpriced, and now we're in the range we should be. We're finally starting to get action. And people have asked, what's wrong? Nothing. Nothing's wrong with the house. So buyers have leverage. They have options. And that leads us into the third one. Potential problems play a big role. Now, what do I mean by that? So when I talk about potential problems, here in Arizona, the two major problems we run into the most is air conditioning and roof. They're expensive. An air conditioner now, the rules have kind of changed with air conditioners, and now you're probably looking 12 grand or more, probably like somewhere between $12,000 to $18,000 for an air conditioner. I would probably say comfortably $15,000 to $16,000 for an air conditioner now. A roof, similar price, $15,000, $16,000. Depending on the size of the home. If it's a smaller home, you're probably looking $12,000, $13,000. But those are expensive things. So guess what? When you go into a house, I get questions about this on my listings all the time. What's the age of the roof? What's the age of the AC? People want to know that stuff because they are big ticket items. And so I have sellers that will say, well, I'm not touching those. They just need to understand that you're buying a house that's used. Yes, and they can go find other homes that have new roofs and have new ACs. Now, I'm not saying you have to do a whole new roof, a whole new AC. That's part of a negotiation. That's why it's important to have a good agent, okay? But it's one of those that people hear that and they immediately write it off. And they're like, no, don't even talk to me about that stuff. You can't do that in a buyer's market because people have options. They have options where they can look at this house 2 miles away and go, well, that house has a new roof and a new AC. Okay, maybe I'll go after that house. Or are you willing to work with me? And that's where you got to be willing to negotiate. That would be like my fourth thing that I really haven't put in there. You have to be willing to negotiate. You have to be willing to, because in a buyer's market, you do not have the leverage. They do. And so you have to be willing to do what you got to do to sell the house. Now, again, I'm not telling you to sell your house for $100,000 under what it's worth. I'm not saying that. Okay, get value. And that's why it's important to have a good real estate agent. Because for us, we know what the trends in the market are doing. I follow this every week. I'm looking at this stuff multiple times a week because I need to know what's going on. So that way I know in specific areas what the best strategy is for selling a home. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, in this situation, selling, you need someone who's on your side that understands what's happening in the market to help you get the most bang for your buck, to make sure that you get the most out of it. Because you want to make sure you get the most return on investment as you can when you're selling your house. So if you want to talk about that, I would love to talk with you about it. I'd love to strategize with you. It's about real estate through relationships for me. It's not about the transaction. It's about the relationship. I'm here to help you. I'm here to serve you. I'm here to communicate with you and do everything I can for you. So if you're interested in that, my information is below. I hope you'll reach out. If you're thinking about buying a home and you're like, hey, I want to negotiate and get some good deals, we can do that too. I'd love to talk with you. So guys, I appreciate you listening to Real Talk Real Estate. I'll catch you next time.